Hi, everybody. This is Sam Durbridge. So, today I'm going to talk about something I don't really go into that much. And so, one of the things that I want to go into about is this video is for those that are of the Great Awakening variety. If you're not one of those, then move on. But I want you to know that I'm all about peace, healing, and caring about others. Unconditional love. Due to experiences that I went through where I saw an inner higher self Christ conscious connection. Now, many wrong thoughts that certain individuals have had about me when they talk to me or communicate me or have told false things about me, it's usually because of false narratives that cabals and others are that don't want the truth to come out have spin towards me and others. And they've chosen to do that for their own reason for the reality that we're in. But it really messes with their dreams coming true to the fullness of what they could have. Because we all matter in the heart, and everybody is everybody in some form or some way, and they're aware of that. Most of them are. The smart ones are. The ones that don't choose to accept or be aware of it is because they're doing what's called plausible deniability. Helps them live in their dream way of being, helps them justify the reasons of doing what they do because of their money and the funds and their elite status that they have, which is their choice of their life path. And my whole focus on this recording today for this one is about the connections of what I personally have noticed and what others have told me. These are for those that are aware of past life and maybe connections to Atlantean bloodline or other forms of past lives or god status or goddess status or remembering being ancient god or ancient individuals in lores, and many have felt that they have past lives connected to certain connected lore that is connected to basically Norse mythology and a whole bunch of other mythologies. And it's just many, and I've heard of Thoth, tons of people have brought up Thoth. I've talked to tons of people believe that they're connected to certain ancient He-Man connected lores and Thor lores and all these different lores, which I'm not really for or against that at all. I think if you are, you are. You are whatever you are. And if you aren't that, eventually you will know. But, you know, who am I to say that someone isn't what they feel that their reincarnation life was? I am not really fully about reincarnation. At the same time, I'm not against the idea of it as well, just because of many things that I've witnessed. So I made a list here of stuff that I feel that I could be connected to, and ones that I really feel, based on my experiences, that seem more plausible due to what I've witnessed and have seen. Doesn't mean that I am or that I'm not, but I do feel strongly about certain connections. And some of it is me maybe seeing through another person connected to me, or for a purpose of something that I might become later or have already been or will be. And so some of it is a little bit concerning, some of it isn't. So this is what I'm going to go into. So past life. So connections. So past life connections is what I'm going to talk about. So there are people that I know that have said that their partners in them are so their significant other or whatever are connected to certain gods or goddesses or whatever, and that they notice that blood types have something to do with it. And for me, do I remember being any ancient being of any form? Not necessarily. However, I do seem to have gotten on the radar of a lot of those beings. I don't know why or why I'm so important, and it seems like for some reason I'm connected to the all connection. And I'm not saying this to boast myself up above anyone. In fact, on the contrary, I wish I knew more of what I really am, past life wise. I wish I had more answers. But the more answers you get, the more questions you have. So honestly, I'm not sure. What I do know is, from the list I have, is when I've researched and when I had these questions, I researched certain things. One of the things I researched was past life. I found out that I'm connected to the lone gunman. Part of me has noticed connections of where I was a lone gunman monk, and I think it was called something else, but a monk that was basically like a Christian monk or some kind of religious order monk that was a lone gunman in the Western time period. So when, they had the Old West. And so the other was, I feel like Shamil, which is an angel, which is considered one of the 9 or 7 archangels that guard God's throne, or that have seen God personally. And Shamil seems to like me and reach out to me. Shamil is the one, and some call it Samuel. Shamil Archangel was said to be the one that, and there's different levels of angels because they're different reincarnations of the same angel form. That's another story to go entirely. Then that's the yin-yang connection. So it gets very deep. Some people believe Christ and Lucifer are the same form, just 2 halves of one whole. Different timeline connections, and multi-earth, multi-dimensional frequency connections, to where you have to have one in order for the other, and then once they become one and they're freed and they're healed, they can merge and become the connected form through their ultimate twin flames that they connect with. And so, with their separate beings of a different polarity, but they have one on each side connection to become one with, and that's just, it just gets confusing for me. Not really, but it can. But it's pretty deep. But the more I looked into it, the more I could tell that there was something to it. And so I'm just looking around trying to, this is how I think in my mind. So basically, Shamil is a being that was said to have helped Christ before and after Christ's sacrifice in the garden, of sacrificing or suffering for sins in the Garden of Gethsemane, and then, or in Gethsemane, and then at the cross afterwards, and then helped him transition after, but helped him suffer in the 40 days, 40 nights situation and after as well. So Shamil also helped Adam and Eve find peace after they fell, after they had to leave the garden. So Shamil seems to be connected to gardens and helping people through their pains of leaving beautiful gardens or beautiful atmospheres into terrible terrain, to help them through those terrains and those situations. Shamil is also one with nature and cares about nature and loves nature, and anybody that tries or loves nature wants to nurture it or care for it. So Shamil is that angel, and it's also the angel that is considered over all the guardian angels. Michael is in charge of all the guardian angels, but Shamil or controls all the warriors of heaven and whatever, but Shamil is the one that actually rules over that and all the guardian spirits and Fae. Fae is fairies, and not in the way that some people would think of fairy. Fairy lore. Fae can be goblins, they can be dwarves and all sorts of creatures, elves, and little and tall, and they can be fairies with wings, like Tinkerbell type stuff, and many other forms, and gnomes. Gnomes are fairies, and leprechauns are fairy or fae. It's just all magical creatures. Those are fae, magical creatures or forms that are considered magical creatures. That includes orcs. That includes dark creature forms. So yeah. So Lord of the Rings brings up a lot of that. So does The Hobbit. So does others. And so yeah, mystical creatures. I would say maybe dragons even connected, but dragons are a little bit more. There's good and bad ones. And it's just, yeah, it gets deeper than that. Yeah, but basically they are the spirits, the guardian spirits. So spirits in Avatar, the cartoons, they bring up about spirits and the Lord spirits and how they had to separate themselves from the human realm because the human and them started fighting because the humans couldn't handle the spirits, and the spirits were turning evil. And they couldn't handle being connected to the humans because they kept becoming evil around the humans because of the energy the humans had, or the beings of this earth had. Because not all of them were humans, some of them were other creature beings. That's a whole nother story. So that goes into bloodlines and other stuff, and I'll put that in the description like I usually do, so you can look up some of that lore. I don't agree or disagree with any of that lore. It just connects with possible stuff, but there seems to be something to it. I just don't agree with all the interpretations mentioned in there, but I do think that the bloodlines are correct to a degree. And I do think some of the connections do match up to history, and mystical history as well. It's kind of a combination. Now, whether it is really Christ-connected bloodlines in that way, I'm not quite sure. I do know that there is something to it. So, then you got, then Archangel Michael. I've been called Michael by mistake, and maybe not by mistake. I don't believe anything's a mistake. I think everything happens, even if we accidentally say it or do it. It doesn't mean that we did it purposely or meant to, but there's something to the connection to it. But it doesn't mean that it's a bad connection, even if it sounds like it. It's more of a balanced connection and a reason, a purpose. And the full purpose should bring peace, not destruction. And so even if it comes across wrong, it could have meant for a good purpose in the long run. And that's an optimistic way to look at things. Now, let's see. So Samuel the prophet connection. My name's Samuel. And then possibly the first Samuel that came to America from London was Samuel, like I was, and had the same desired wants for what he would want for his family, to have an American dream, to believe in dreams come true. So I feel like that could be me in a past life. Maybe that was my past self form because they had the same name and stuff, but I've never seen pictures or anything of that Samuel, so I'm not quite sure, but maybe. I don't know. Now, Jacob's line, so Isaac and Jacob, Abraham's line connections. I would say Jacob was the B blood connection, and that's connected to Draco lines and others that are evil-ish, but it was because they were consumed by AI and other stuff, is what some say, and seduced by darkness and connections and altered their energy, and it has screwed up the whole system that wasn't supposed to be that way. They were seduced by negative vibrations or went into an area that caused them to go psycho, but then now we're healing those lines over through the past to correct those dominating beings that conquered many planets that they never should have. And it's just the energy. When there's much light, there must be darkness to mix with the light to become the balance. And so that's how I take it. So anyway, I'm trying to sum this all up because there's a lot here. So Daniel is Daniel in the lion's den. Daniel, so Bible Daniel. Daniel was a vegan, raw vegan, all of that. I would say I'm connected to that form because he was all about prayer, and he followed what his ancestors told him to do. Mine never did necessarily, but I am connected to that line eventually that did. But that what it is they taught to not eat the other, and then you would heal. And so I was drawn back to that same knowledge through my higher form telling me I'd be drawn to it, and I was. And then I got back to realizing what heals and connects and raises your high vibe so you can do the healing method and technique. So Daniel and his buddies, Meshach, and Abednego, but they have different names that are supposedly supposed to be said more than those. And I can't think of them. But basically those forms of self, they were very, very powerful individuals, and they were able to do some amazing things. Now, one thing about names is the names don't matter. They matter only so that you know the connections to them. But there is no reason for a name. Everything is everything. So every vibrational being doesn't really like to be called by a specific name. They're okay if you call them by whatever name they were. And that's what I realized when I connected with my higher self stuff. Because a name puts a label on things. And they are many labels, yet no label. Because it's everything. And when you're everything, you don't really have any label other than being all. The I am that I am. I am that I am. I am whatever I say I am. Whatever I tell myself I am. Abundance, funds, everything. Unconditional love. All of those vibrations. Grace, which is divine intervention. And all sorts of stuff. And that can be bad or good connection. So, here's something else. So Daniel and then Joseph of Egypt connections, sort of. I dealt with similar stuff that they've dealt, but they've dealt with worse. But I've been pushed towards as if that could occur, but it stopped before it ever did, which is good each time. But that I realized that I have those connections to what they went through, similar, so I could relate to what they dealt with, and I never thought that I would ever go through or be aware. Job was another. I didn't really write that one down here, did I? Yeah, but Job, I don't know if I really feel like I'm connected to Job, a perfect man. Yet, I was promised similar to what Job was promised. Because of my heart, I would be provided because of something that I would do. Similar to what Samuel did in the Bible, and then other Samuels and other scriptures. So Samuel and Shamil and others seem to reach out and connect with me the most. Enoch, definitely, because Enoch believed in bringing a whole city to heaven and knew the technique to heal and manifest things and bless things, which I learned. And I was told I would be drawn to it, and I was a lot like them. And I was compared to them by my higher Christ form self. Now let me explain a little bit about that. Do I believe in hell? No, I do not. do I believe that there are hell dimensions that some places or some vibrational people would not want to be in, because to them that would be hell and they would prefer to be in their form of heaven? Yes. I believe that there are different realms that are hell-like to our perceptions of what we think a hell would be, but we won't be there because we resonate with what resonates with us, and we wouldn't be able to fit there, so we wouldn't end up there. We would go where our vibrations connect with. So that's one thing that some churches that believe in other progressions of heavens, because they're connected to Mason lore and Mason connections, and most religions are, and so they tell those stories of 3 kingdoms or different places, or paradise prison type mentality of knowledge as waiting periods. But it's only because you believe and feel and resonate and are connected into those, or are pushed into those by energies allowing you to go through it. But by doing that, it's basically putting you in a Joseph of Egypt situation, and a Daniel in the lion's den, and his buddies and him in the fiery furnace situation. And what happened to all of them? They all got out of those situations. Plus, with the foods, when they were younger, they were told, eat the foods. And what did they do? They got healthy and the others got sick. And they said, test us. See who becomes stronger, who becomes healthier. Now, the other thing is people make different judgments and different things, but you got to ask the right questions about the different people. When we talk about nowadays, not very many people think about people having metal in their body and they're in the leg. But once you get the metal and stuff out of you, or a way to do that, then when you do the natural healing, you heal faster. Since I have metal fusions and things in my body, the reason why I may not heal as fast as many people would think a vegan or individual says that they do, but they're like, see, he's this to that. Actually, I don't even get a cold or sickness, but I do need to fully heal. But the only way to do that is to get the metal fusions and everything out of the body system. Once those are gone, then I would heal faster. But even so, I'm vibrating with it, and I'm using what I have in there and loving it and caring for it, so that it either dissolves away or turns into bone, or eventually it will. Either way, metaphysically, by the connection to the shift, which some people call the 3D, 5D shift, or the flash. There's many different stories and lore, many different theories, many different ideas from other people that are considered insiders to secret space programs that may or may not be true. Honestly, there's so many different stories that some take from others, and it's just like, okay, who's telling the truth, who isn't, and who's taking it from other people's stories, or and who actually had similar stories to other people. To me, I'm not going to really say who or isn't telling the truth or not. I have my opinions, but I could be wrong about those individuals. They may have actually gone through that just like others. But I'm more about being empathic and caring about all forms, and not putting others down and saying that I'm better than another, or I'm more aware of this other. That to me is not empathic or B negative blood material. B negative is divine master healer, or divine master of arts. And we are very powerful knowing about healing knowledge and ancient knowledge of how to do things just in us. We just are born that way with our blood somehow. And I never thought about that until I grew up and realized that, but I was always connected to that connection. So, here's another. Christ self, for sure, yes. And then werewolf connection. I had a dream about possibly being bitten by a werewolf, or scratched, or I don't know, in the left arm. And then when I woke up, I saw that there was some form of scar left behind. Yep, it's still there, right here in this little spot on my arm. You're not going to see it, but it's like that that one area is still there from the memory. But I remember calling my mom about it and telling a doctor about it. And I feel like they may have cures for werewolves, people. So if you get bit or whatever, I think the projects or secret government entities or whatever have cures for people that become werewolves or get put into a werewolf. Or maybe they don't. And maybe they're suppressing us remembering our wolf self. Some people say werewolves are bad or evil when actually werewolves can control their urges just like a human can. Werewolf, from what I could tell, the older you get, the more you can control and become one with the wolf and not react to it or worry about it as much. And it also depends on what form of person you are, what race and what blood type connected you are, and if you're an aggressive individual or not. And then there is a werewolf connection to where some people say that they are the hounds of God, where some guy claimed in the 80s, or not, I want to say it was a long time ago, but it might have been in the 1800s or something, maybe further back. I think it was like way back. And he told the kings of England or the ones connected to Templars and things, and he told them, I am a protector. Werewolves are protectors of God. They are warriors of God, and they keep the demons in hell. And so in their hell dimensions, instead of coming out and stop the witches from coming out. But if we don't, then they dominate the whole earth. We gotta put them back in, and we gotta keep fighting to get them back in their hole again. And so werewolves are not bad beings, they're the good beings, and yet they can be controlled if they're not careful. And not very many people know who or what they are. So I had a dream of me possibly seeing myself or in someone else's body, being in some kind of park bathroom and shower with a tub, like a porcelain tub, outdoor tub type stuff, and tile and stuff in the cement outdoor bathroom of a park or a campground park place somewhere, maybe near Skinwalker Ranch. I don't know. Maybe near a bay. I felt that I had this similar car that I have now in the dream experience, so it felt like it could have been me, but maybe I just put that in to connect with that if I went there. And then there was 2 children or 2 dudes that I feel like may have been secret government workers following me, because they do that to teenagers. They get them young, and then they get you to be part of secret Illuminati or King Stalker Gaslighter groups, because they can get children or dudes, adolescents, to do messed up stuff easier than they can get adults to. Because adults usually grow up to wanting to protect themselves more and don't want to be ordered around as easy, and children just want to have fun and do whatever they want and follow if they get paid or given stuff that they would love utilizing. So they can get paid off pretty easily, and they love just seeing what they can get away with. And who wouldn't turn down training to do those things if you are a rambunctious, crazy adolescent person? So what is interesting is, but they can get influenced if they realize what they're doing is a bad vibration. It does affect them. So I've helped teach children or others that are around me that make fun of me or others. I say, when you do that, nature will go against you for putting down someone, because nature that loves nature. And as soon as I said that to one kid in real life at one time, they were laughing or making fun, and I was telling them about healing science and knowledge that their school and others don't teach them. And then as soon as one laughed or was making fun, I said, you better be careful doing that, because then nature or a bug or something might bite you or hurt you for trying to put down someone who's being genuine and kind to you and teaching you knowledge of how to heal and manifest things. and they were laughing, making fun. And then one did get bit by a bug right at that time, and I said, I told you so. I said it would happen. And they were just like, oh. And so then they started listening and realizing, and it really confused them because they were trying to not be aware. And I noticed that they were possibly being told to monitor me or follow me. And I've had a lot of people do that when I told my story and my experiences when I woke up, that there's more going on in this world than most people know. And that's when I first started my book and did those things. So, yeah. So let's see. I may have to do another video on this, which is fine. But werewolf connection, possibly. God I am self loves me. Yeah. So God I am, the I am that I am, loves me a ton. Seems to reach out to me more than most. And it's because when other angel forms or aren't able to help me or whatever, God seems to step in more for me because all the rest can't do it enough. They're unable to. But God seems to love me enough that he sends his highest angel beings to help me for all of that I went through and because of my heart and choices that I've decisioned. Because God already sees me as complete. I was told this back in 2017, but I didn't get it. Even when I didn't feel that I was fully accepted or okay. But God already knew I would be, as if I already completed my task and what I'm supposed to, because I would change and follow a path that I would choose. Sure, I would follow a path that I choose. And I don't always know whether I'm doing the full right thing or wrong thing, and it's just because there's so many games out there and so many tricks that people are so confused about that they try to put me or others down for not being part of the religious belief systems that they say is true that you need to repent and be part of. They say the issue is they don't realize that the food they're eating and things that they're doing that's GMO and controlled is cabal controlled. And the religions taught them to believe in redacted versions of scripture and everything to hide the true knowledge of healing that I was drawn to and told to do. That I saved my life and was healed for 4 days when I saw the inner higher self, Christ self. So yeah, that one I know is me. Fays, Daniel, fairies, maybe. Other than that, I can't think of any other life-connected self other than I'm connected to other people and I see through their eyes when I go to sleep. Sometimes if I wake up in a lucid dream state, I am in someone else's home and in them and can move their body a little bit. I kind of want to write a note and tell them, hey, call Sam, and give them my number and stuff. Anyway, bless all.